Hello and welcome to The Talk. My guest today is George Eshleman. George is a U.S. Army veteran who saw a problem and did something honorable and drastic to raise awareness. Setting out alone, George thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia with 363 name tapes of men and women, all veterans, who took their own lives. Veteran suicide rates represent approximately half of the suicides that take place in the U.S. each year. The name tapes of the 363 men and women George walked with represent about 16 days' worth of veteran suicides. The statistics are alarming. George is here today to discuss his mission and to tell us about a movie called The Keeper that will be released in theaters on Veterans Day, May 27th. The film is about George's Appalachian journey, and it has already won several awards, including Best Feature Film and Best Editors at the Los Angeles Independent Film Festival Awards. You can watch an advanced screening at the Gem Theater in Calhoun, Georgia on Friday, May 17th at 7 p.m. When we come back from break, meet George Eshleman and learn more about his powerful and important film, The Keepers. Plus, find out what all of us can do to make sure our veterans know they are not alone. We'll be right back.
So y'all current military or are you vets?
Army all the way. Trail name's Bacon.
I'm Army. Trail name's Peanut.
I'm a Marine. Trail name's Mini-Me. How about you?
Well, I'm Army, but I don't have a trail name yet.
Oh, don't worry. Your trail name will find you.
I was always told never to quit anything till tomorrow.
Amazing, isn't it?
Couldn't think of a more beautiful place in the world.
What are those names on your pack?
That's my family there. I made a promise to some very special people. These name tapes don't leave my side. Trying to raise awareness. Hopefully try to find some kind of solution.
If you would reach just one person, you're the keeper.
George shall ever be known as Keeper.
Keeper of the names.
I've been called worse than that.
I had a bad dream.
What are you hiding?
One moment can dictate your entire life.
We're all gone.
People shouldn't start what they can't finish.
What the hell are you doing?
We trusted you to carry these memories.
What I do is my business.
You're never alone on this trail.
Welcome back to The Talk. I'm here with George Eshleman. Hello, George.
Hello.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure.
Now, George, are you a resident of Calhoun?
Calhoun, yes, since 1994, I believe.
Okay, that's awesome. So you are within our North Georgia viewing area, and you're going to be on people's radar all across the world soon because a movie is coming out that is based on your true experiences, and it's called The Keeper.
Right.
So, George here, I did a brief introduction before you came on, but just to reiterate, George is an Army veteran, and you did a project, I guess it was a mission really, right?
Yep.
To raise awareness. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
In 2015, I got a call that my best friend had taken his life, and before then, really, I didn't know anything about veteran suicides. It wasn't really in my wheelhouse at the time. And I was very good at hiding my PTSD for, 24 years. And then when that happened, it kind of flipped a switch. And I'd set out to go to the Appalachian Trail where, we had hiked before and take my life on the trail. So I put a message on Facebook that I was going to go do that and leave my best friend's tape on top of Katahdin. Well, people just started sending their loved ones, strangers, and families. Next thing you know, I had, all these name tapes. And even though they thought that I was going to hike the trail, my intention was to not come off the trail.
And your wife had no idea, or did she have an instinct?
She did not know until she read the screenplay.
Okay.
So.
That's serious stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's lack of a better word, it's deadly. A lot of us we think we can handle anything and everything in life because in our own minds, if we don't, that means we're weak. It's the complete opposite of what we should do, and it almost killed me. But there's something behind you have to watch the film to see what I'm talking about, but something on the trail happened. And they say the Appalachian Trail is spiritual, and it's not necessarily religious spiritual. It's just the memories of everyone's ever hiked that trail. It's just a very healing place. And I believe that's what helped me get through my hard time on the trail.
So to back up just a moment, you were in the Army from 88 to 92, is
Yes.
that correct? And you were in?
518th Field Artillery out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Did 9 months in Saudi Arabia and Iraq during Desert Storm. So we were there for the complete 43 days of the ground war and air offensive and stuff like that.
So people who have not been in the military and experienced what many veterans have, including yourself, we really can't grasp, I mean, on a deep level, what you're experiencing. Like your life is at stake on a daily, as well as the people around you.
Right. It's people don't understand what the difference between military PTSD and civilian is. I equate mine to what they call moral injury. I was raised a certain way, like most people are. You don't do certain things, and you would imagine you're capable of doing something, and then you end up doing it at 21 years old.
And that's a baby, really.
Yeah, and you got guys 18, 19 years old doing, what we did. So once it's over and you get back to the States, and whether you ETS, get out of the military, for the next couple of years, you're okay because you're still real fresh. Once you get out of that, and then you start realizing, wow, I did these things. I took a life where I, in horrible ways and did a lot of bad things. So once that is set in you, then you start having dreams and then memories, and it's like a snowball effect. And if you don't catch it early enough and then try to, get help with it, it'll never go away. But it is manageable, to the point. So as long as you manage it, then good chance you won't end up, one of these here. But yeah, that's what I go through is moral injury and whatnot.
So I think a lot of people, I know myself, I had no clue how high the statistics of veteran suicide is. I saw one statistic that said it's about half of all suicides in the U.S.
Right. Yep. It's they quantitative as 22 a day. If they were to really, and not splitting hairs, but if they were to take into account, say, a single car accident, or a single car DUI accident or something like that, there's actually a gentleman on here that his was classified as a suicide. It was a single car accident into a tree in his own neighborhood. So things like that, a lot of times they'll put it toward a veteran suicide. But there are a lot of different triggers. I mean, veterans have a difficult time sometimes keeping jobs, which causes financial strife, which causes relationship problems. And they're so far down in explanation that, again, they're not connecting it to PTSD. Well, he just had financial problems. Yeah, but why did he have financial problems? Well, he couldn't keep a job. Why he couldn't keep a job? So, there's so many different levels of it, but it all accumulates, and you're never alone. You're never just
alone.
Reach out. Yep.
So when you say you're never alone, and that's a tenet of the movie,
Right.
What do you mean?
Never alone. No one walks a trail alone. As a tagline of the movie is, it's a trail of life. It's not necessarily in the woods or anything like that. It's, everybody goes through something in their life, no matter civilian, veteran, whether middle schooler, anything. And a lot of times they'll feel alone. They start to self-isolate, and they're afraid to come out, or they're afraid to identify, that they may be something wrong with mental.
Yeah.
And even the word mental scares people. But I would rather, someone say, I have a problem, than me standing over a casket saying, why?
Oh my goodness,
I'm
yes.
sorry. There's actually a message on my phone that an Erin Van Bibber, I carried her husband Michael, and August 30th, we had spoken for 4 months while I was hiking the trail to that point, and all the messages were positive, very positive what I was doing. August 30th, September 1st, I get a call. She took her life. That quick. I mean, from great, conversation to boom, and that's what it was like on the trail that day. And being able to see that, it was almost like you're stepping out of your body and watching in real time what it looked like when you were doing that, because they kept so close to my story, to the actual locations. And I think if we could all have that gift of being able to see, not necessarily in the future, but be able to step back and look what you're about to do to people, it gives you a second time to really think about what damage you're going to do if you go through with this, this long-term solution to a short-term problem.
Gotcha. So in the movie, it shows a scene where you're on your mission, but you're just suddenly, the next thing you know, you have a gun in your hand.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that in just a moment. We are back. I am here with George Eshleman, the Keeper. The Keeper, before we get into where we left off a moment ago, that's your trail name.
Yes.
The Appalachian Trail.
Yes, it was.
So it's common, my understanding is that people who hike the trail, which by the way, you hiked 2,100 miles, right?
2,189 at the time,
My
right?
word,
Yeah.
that's a lot of walking.
I've done it 3 times.
You've done it 3 times. Did you take those with you every time?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you're on the trail, you're sharing the story, because people obviously will be like, what is that? What's going on? And
Oh yeah, they're blown away.
Yeah.
They're just they sit there and stare for a minute and realize, that just a handful. That's one day. So it touches a lot of people on the trail, and that's the beauty of, if that's the right word, of carrying these wherever I go, because it is a conversation starter.
And you are raising awareness to the issue, the very real and huge issue of veteran suicide.
Right.
Which brings me back to where we left off. You're on the trail. At one point, you find yourself in a situation where you think you're going to carry through your original plan of, ending things on the trail.
And there is a gun in the scene, but they'll have to watch the movie to see that.
Find out where that comes from.
Yeah, that one. Now, when that scene was filmed, that was probably the only scene that I thought I could watch it, but when I saw them do the scene, I pretty much lost it. I had to leave set. And when I say set, we were on location in Maine. Let's see, Virginia, then Tennessee, then Georgia, and a lot of these places have never been filmed before.
On the trail?
Yes. So these are West Coast folks that really went over and above and beyond, because they wanted to get to the exact locations that were in my journal. So there was a lot of, trekking through the woods with, 250 pounds of camera gear that, cost more than my house,
Yeah, some of that stuff's expensive, huh?
And we had wonderful, wonderful crew that we're very blessed to have those people that have worked on different movies of Guardians of the Galaxy to Tower Heist to, different big production movies.
It comes through. And the scenery, my word, it is gorgeous.
The one scene of the clouds.
I know what you're talking about.
That was, it was real foggy and hazy that day, and we were...
was that actual clouds?
Oh, yeah.
Because in my mind I thought...
That wasn't CGI.
Okay.
No, ma'am. Those were actual clouds.
So
and
beautiful.
It was real foggy and misty down at the bottom, and they were having to postpone the filming, and every hour you postpone costs money. So I took a ride up to the top of this mountain with a lone wolf, who's a legend of the trail. And when we crested over and got past the cloud part, we looked out and it was just, oh my gosh. We got on the radio, called down, and Richard Gilly, who was the cinematographer, who's again worked on big motion pictures, the first word out of his mouth was, "This is epic." And it was beautiful. So,
and I know myself from being at wonderful places and trying to capture it on a camera, on film, you can't really do it. Although you come pretty close.
Yeah.
I imagine what you were seeing was so much more.
Oh yeah, I mean it wasn't like motion sickness, but it was just kind of odd. You're trying to get your equilibrium worked out because you're watching the clouds slowly move.
Yeah.
And it feels like the ground is moving under you. So it was we stayed there for about 3 or 4 hours filming. And, it was good stuff.
I'm glad you got to be a part of not just telling your story, but actually going and, well, you really needed to be there to put people in. Okay, let me take you back to that tree. And I know that's probably the hardest thing, one of the hardest things to talk about. What stopped you from doing that?
These.
The names.
And I guess the best way to put that was once you start realizing how many people you're going to affect, not just my wife at the time and my 2 boys, but the Uber driver that gave me a ride to the airport, to the people on the plane that saw the name tapes, to the bus driver that brings all the hikers to the Appalachian Trail Lodge, to the people in the Appalachian Trail Lodge, to the store clerk, to the post office people, to everybody I'd met up to that point, plus these families. And they say one suicide affects roughly 135 people. Well, that's a lot of people that I was about to really do some damage to.
And actually, even more in your case, you have become the keeper.
Yeah, at the height of my hike, and on Facebook, there was over 7,000 people following, 3,000 and 4,000 comments. So there was a lot of people following me, and again, it just said, goes to show you're not alone. Even though I did feel alone on the trail, and a few phone calls from Rhonda would specifically say that. We won't get into them, but specifically said, no matter what, you're not alone.
That's so great. That's your wife.
Yep.
So when you're there and you're on the trail and you have all of these name tapes here, and they're representing actual people who experience post-traumatic stress and other things that led them to ending their lives, did you feel a presence of some of them? Did you ever feel like they were kind of with you? Yeah,
I did. During the time up to the hike, plus during the first sections of the hike, I'd spoken to their families. And when you carry them around and sleep with them and talk to them, for so long, they become family. And I even called them my security blanket.
Sure.
Because it's almost, I don't want to say a habit, but it's like smoking. You can't live without them, So a lot of people are amazed that something like that I still have all these, and it's like, well, they're family, not just the names, tapes of people that I really never knew personally, but I know a lot of their stories.
Sure.
Like Wade Baker, played by Nicholas Assad, his was a suicide by cop.
By what?
Suicide by cop.
Meaning he exacerbated a situation?
He came off his meds, called the police, so there was a shooting at a church, and when they showed up to the church, he walked out from the side of the church. Church was not in session at the time, and no one was there except him. He walked out from beside the church with a gun in his hand, and they shot him. So suicide by cop. And then Andrew Ferguson, who played Anthony Barton, his Charlie Mataz, he was fine one day, just like Aaron Van Bibber, and the next day his sister got a call. Michael Blanco, same way. And Sophie Shampoo, pretty much her story, which they'll get a lot more to know about Sophie Shampoo and her Charlie Peanut, about what happened to her. So all the stories and what these people went through, it as horrible as it is, and the things they were going through in their life, if they were able to step back like I was able to, they'd realize it's not worth it. Don't do it. And
you know what's so wonderful? You were alone. You could have done whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
But you didn't take that route.
Yep.
And it wasn't just for yourself, but it was for your people, and for these people, and for their families. Yep. And I have to say, the young lady Peanut.
Yep. Sophie
I fell in love with her. Like, she could be my daughter. I just want everything to be okay for her. Yeah. And we learn more of her story, or you will learn more of her story when you watch it. I watched it last night. I had the pleasure of being able to see a just release, at home release, so that we could, we would know what to talk about.
It'd be a little easier, to discuss it.
And it was great. From the beginning to the end, it was great. But I have to tell you, I had no idea the ending was so powerful and important.
It is. A lot of people will, kind of just shake their head and say they didn't see that one coming.
No, and I'm a writer,
Yeah.
watch all kinds of movies, and, I feel like, I've got almost everything figured out. Well, I'm not brilliant, but you know what I mean. So I did not see that coming, and I can't say more, although I want to. What I can say is you guys need to go watch this movie. It's coming out in theaters on Memorial Day.
Well, May 24th.
May
That's a Friday.
24th.
Right.
And there's also another opportunity that's coming up for people who are in the Calhoun area. The beautiful Gym Theater will be doing a preview. Well, not preview, there's a word for
It's
it.
early release. It's more
Early
like a premiere.
release.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a special premiere because of my hometown. And that's on the 17th at 7 p.m.
Yes.
And it's general admission. It's free. There's no charge for the
Oh,
tickets.
it's free?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, there you go.
Yep.
A good evening, good entertainment, and more than entertainment.
Yeah, it's a learning film. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's sad, but it is also educational because there are certain tips in the movie or certain things that are done in the movie that people can relate to and make them make it work for them. And I know that the trailer link that they have on their website at the keepermovie.info. They can go on there, and there's actually a memorial wall on that website. They can, if they want to, attach a picture of a veteran.
Wow.
Whether it's been suicide or even natural causes, but they can leave a memorial to that veteran.
Do a lot of veterans and military do the trail?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
kind of like a thing.
It is. It is. It's really the only place that you can feel, I guess, where instead of drinking to numb a problem or doing drugs to numb a problem.
Self-medicating.
Exactly. So you're self-medicating on the trail, and everyone has a trail name because no one knows their real name, and there's a reason. Everyone gets on the trail for a specific reason. There's really no politics, no religion, it's they call it the hiker universe. And it is very powerful. If anyone ever hikes it for 2 weeks, and I suggest go out for 2 weeks and hike it, when you come home, you're going to realize your puzzle piece just doesn't fit anymore because of such a beautiful place it is and the people you meet. It's almost just like going back or into another dimension of just how the world could be or should be.
And that's one of my things is it's not the same anymore because everybody, including myself, is constantly on the phone or trying to entertain ourselves, or we don't have that peace and that quiet that is important.
We don't have time to talk to ourselves. I mean, I miss a rotary phone, but I've learned that I do talk a lot to myself. Sometimes argue with myself.
I do too.
Occasionally, won't talk to myself for a few days, but yeah, I mean, you start talking to yourself and just kind of get into yourself and kind of not work through your own problems, but rationalize things. Reach out to friends, reach out to family if you're having any issues, and no matter how big or small you think they are, it's a whole lot easier to go through life. If you have people that care about you, and I know everybody has at least one person that cares about them.
Yes.
And if they feel they don't, they've got the national 1-800 suicide hotline.
Yes.
You will never ever go anywhere where they're going to charge you to keep you alive.
Yes.
Really, I mean, all this stuff is free to the VA, to the national hotline, to even civilians that have issues. Reach out, and get help.
To the hotline.
Yep.
And we're going to, of course, share that here. And like you said, no one ever is alone.
No.
All we need to do is I say all, it's not simple, but we reach out, we take that chance and we reach out.
Yeah. And they'll find how easy it really is, and it's it's not scary.
To get help.
Yeah.
And not just a phone call to, hey, you're going to feel better, da-da-da. They really give you resources and they help you get to a better place. Do you still have contact with any of the people you met on the Appalachian Trail?
Other than the hostile owners, not really, because when I was hiking the trail, I was still withdrawn in myself. It really wasn't until the second northbound hike that I did start in January. It was all snowy, and I didn't see anybody for 18 days because nobody wanted to hike in snow.
Sure. Was it scary at any time?
No.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people think, how do you lay down in a tent in the middle of the woods, go to sleep at nighttime? You got monsters, and I'm not afraid of those.
But you did see, perhaps, experience a ghost.
Yeah, and I will say this. Everything in the movie actually happened, from the bear scene to the hostile scene, and they'll know what hostile scene that is. I don't do ghosts. I will walk over
I do
my
ghosts.
own.
I have Dalton ghost tours.
I will
You're
walk-
my guest anytime you want to come.
I will walk over my own mother to get out of a house.
Yeah.
If there's a ghost. I'm just saying, Mom, sorry, but you know the truth. But yeah, I mean, everything actually happened on the trail. And so yeah, the hostel owners, and they were wonderful when we were filming all these folks for us. We got a lot of legends of the trail that are in the movie, the actual hostel locations and stuff like that. So anyone who's ever hiked the trail, even if you're good to go and you don't have any problems, still go watch the movie.
Yeah.
A portion of the proceeds does go to a veteran cause.
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I can't say which one because it hadn't been confirmed yet, but that's that veteran cause. I'll just say this. He's been in a few movies. He builds houses for veterans. He does a lot of work with PTSD. His initials are GS.
I have a clue.
There you go. So hopefully he'll be at the premiere too in LA with a bunch of other insiders. But one thing that I do like what they said about the Keeper is there have been a lot of mental health movies made in the past, but nothing like this one. So just the fact that stands out, it just is a testament to not what I wrote or I'd say Todd Tavolazzi, the screenwriter, but that the story is just so raw, so true. They don't pull any punches, which is rough to do in Hollywood. They need to make it a certain way. But Angus Benfield, the director, he went pretty much line by line, and I'm so grateful for those folks because the cast and the crew, they're family to me now. I never thought I'd have friends and family in Hollywood, but yeah, they're actually real, just normal people.
George, I want to say so much more, but we are unfortunately out of time. But you guys, please go see The Keeper. George, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. We'll see you next week.